Welcome, everybody, to Stay Curious. I'm your host, Mark Marquette. So glad to be back in the saddle after a week at SpaceCom in Orlando. This is February 2nd, 2026, Groundhogs Day. And we are broadcasting live from our studios in downtown Titusville, literally sitting about 10 miles away from the Artemis launch pad. Marty Winkle is my co-producer behind our computer here. Marty, how are you? Wouldn't you say we're about 10 miles? You're going to tell me I'm 10 and a half miles away.
No, you're close enough, Mark. We'll go with 10.
Oh, okay. Maybe 11 miles away, but we're close. It's one of the best places to see it. You're coming down for the launch. Come to Spaceview Park if you didn't buy the high dollar ticket there to see it on the Space Center property there. But fluid situation, literally wet dress going on. We understand that they've halted it. There might be some leaks and that's why they're doing it, so to test it all out. We have a Sunday, February 8th launch date at about 11:30 at night, I believe, and that'll probably be pushed around a little bit. But a lot of people on the Space Coast, as Artemis fever is hitting us, and it all started in America with this little rocket behind me here, Explorer 1, launched on January 31st, 1958. Just a few months after Russia shocked the world with Sputnik. But our rocket had scientific value, and though it doesn't look like a satellite, it was. And we're going to hit some juxtapositions of some dates in history going on right now. And I don't have a single note in front of me, so Steve Jokums, if you're watching, keep me online there. In fact, let me boost up my phone here so I can talk to some of you there. Marty will be looking at your comments. It is great to be back, and I appreciate everybody that helped have some repeat shows with Mike Chinelli. Marty, great job on doing the repeat shows. And then we had Bob Granath, our resident historian and public affairs officer. Bob did a great job doing a program on a couple of the Challenger astronauts that I think that he got to know. I believe Dick Scobie and El Onizuka, or no, it wasn't El, it was somebody else. But there's Tom Celentano. Thank you, buddy. Cliff Watson down in Pomona. And I saw Robert Law today in the building. Got a picture we'll post here later of Robert. And so Carlton Bailey, good to see him. Carlton had a fabulous evening shot of the moonrise over Artemis that we put on Facebook. And I'll catch up with some of this stuff tomorrow, some of the current events that went on. As today we're going to just focus on some of the slides I had racked up from previous years on February 2nd. After all, this is Marty and I's 6th February 2nd, as we'll be celebrating 6 years on Stay Curious here on March 21st, believe it or not, over 1,400 episodes. And so thank y'all for chiming in. Tom Usiak, good to have you watching today. It's good to be back. And what quite a busy day. I just jumped on this morning and hit the ground running on a Monday. We have got our memorabilia show. If you're locally at the Hyatt Place this Saturday, Jan Davis is doing some autographing her book. But today we're going to talk about Ham the Chimp, Explorer 1, and Apollo 14, all to bridge the space between us today. So, a few pictures of SpaceCom. SpaceCom was also called Space Congress back in the day. It is the trade show for the contractors and subcontractors that work for NASA. I quickly learned from friends like Marty befriended me that NASA didn't build anything. They're the homeowner, and they hire the contractors like you do at your home to do the electrical, to do the air conditioning, to do the plumbing. And therefore, it's a unique situation there where government money, your taxpaying dollars, are spent and among companies that might be in your backyard. And we enjoyed unveiling some new trade show materials there Paradise Signs donated to our museum. That's me, and of course my binary star, Gabriel Rothblatt. We both report to the board. There is Stephanie Robinson of our board and our board president, Troy Post, there. And you see off Troy's shoulder there our new mascot for our museum, Ozzy the Space Manatee. And I'll talk about that tomorrow on Stay Curious. We also got a nice, beautiful sign there that looks like the Webb telescope design. And that is Stephanie Sherby, another board member of ours that works for one of the great companies, All Points here. But this is what we did, was just press flesh, do a lot of talking about the museum for 3 days, standing up. Gabriel doesn't do as much standing up as I do, Marty, and his calves were hurting him the first day. And I said, get used to it, man. This is what we do, stand around and talk about the museum. So Marty, somebody said, Mark, what did you learn at SpaceCom? And to share that with you all. Connie McDaniel asked me that. She was at our meeting of the Shuttle Fest, had a meeting today, and everything's on great track for Shuttle Fest in June. Well, what I always learn at these things, Marty, is I'm getting old. Okay. There's a lot of dreamers, a lot of hopes, a lot of companies that are banking on things to happen. In low Earth orbit is the main place where everybody's going, 150, 250 miles above the Earth. And, you know, as I go back and look at these things over the decades, it's the same things that we're talking about with different technology. We're going to mine asteroids. We're going to have a permanent presence in outer space. And it's yet to happen. We're going to be talking about Apollo 14 headed to the moon 55 years ago today. All right. Our first space hero, Alan Shepard, with 15 minutes to space, has got 2 other rookies on board with him going to, in my mind, a very underrated mission to restore the faith of the public and NASA in going back to the moon after the Apollo 13 near fatal disaster. All right. So these dreamers that are at SpaceCom all have a. I was asked one of the mixers afterwards on Saturday night. You're invited to this private party of this company, Go Space. Let's say the name of it is, and they have a mixer and people are buying drinks and then they have the big banners and stuff where they stand up in front of and say, we've got a great team. We have got a great mission. Our goal is to make sure that the human presence in space is always going to be there. And we've got a great team of number crunchers over here who'll take your money to invest in our ideas and so forth. And I was asked what that sounded like to me the next lunch with a person I know very well. And I said, it sounded to me like an AI party because everybody says the same thing. We've got a great mission. We got a great team. We've got so much going for us. We got the smartest people. We've got people that are ready to invest in your money, and we will give you a great investment back. When, we can't say because we've not even flown anything yet. So there's a lot of that, and I'm not being facetious. Maybe I'm being facetious, but I'm not being a realist. Okay. The International Space Development Conference. I think I attended the 35th, 36th, 37th one. Where are your space developments? There are none. All right. Yet you've been talking about it for 3 decades. What the action that needs to be taken is money. You need to have money to do anything. Piles of money. And Marty, this morning I watched on the crawl on the news, $14.7 billion in arms to be approved to go to Ukraine, maybe. I forget who it was even going to. $14.7 billion. Our Congress is just peeling off the top there when NASA's budget is $26 billion, I think. We need that money peeled off for Artemis right now to go to beat China to the moon. And I'm going, why are we peeling off $14 billion for military might for a foreign country when that money is money that should go to the Artemis program to go to the moon? Now, that is a personal statement of mine. This is not what the American Space Museum or U.S. Space Walk of Fame is broadcasting out there. It's what Mark Marquette disclaimer is saying. That's a lot of money. That's over half the budget of NASA. And it's just willy nilly, like we're going to give armed support to, I forget who, honestly. And man, that would certainly be the money that we need to build a better moon lander or help Elon Musk with his Starship. Okay, advance. So that's my comment about that's what these things are like. They're a lot of fun. There are a lot of companies that are doing serious stuff there too, among the dreamers that are looking to put their startup on the map. And there's a lot of companies we've talked about. Intuitive Machines is one. They've had two failures, all right, where they landed, but it flipped over. I don't know how well that stock's doing right now or anything, but it is a harsh, tough business that you need rockets full of money to send rockets to do what they want to do here. So, all right, let's get to something fun and off my soapbox here. Oh, flipping around here, don't know what to do. There we are. That's not Puxatawny Phil. It could be. Okay. That's what his patch says there, the groundhog. Don't know if it's Shaw's shadow or not. Don't care because we're going to have the official vernal equinox is in 6 weeks. Okay, the first day of spring. 6 weeks ago, we had the winter solstice. Okay, these are things that are celestial mechanics that happens. But would you believe that February 2nd, Groundhogs Day, Halloween, uh, and let's see, but Halloween is between that. But what's between in March? May Day, okay, May Day celebrations, and Lammas Day are all what they call cross quarter days, okay, and there's a chart that shows between the two equinoxes, when day equals night, the two solstices, summer and winter, there are the cross quarter days, all right? In between the winter solstice and the vernal equinox is February 2nd, Groundhog's Day. Then we've got the vernal equinox and summer equinox. In between that, in March, we've got the March 1st, and that is May Day, a celebration of flowers and so forth going on. Between the summer solstice and the autumnal equinox is Lammas Day, which is a harvest celebration day. Okay. And then Halloween is the All Saints Day or All Souls Day, where they celebrate the dead. All right. All significant things of our culture and all celestially invented things. So happy Groundhog's Day, Marty. Anybody say that to you today?
Nope.
All right. Were you going to do anything special, Marty, for Groundhog's Day?
No, afraid not, Mark.
Okay. We'll stick around. Maybe we'll go out to a meal together there. I've never eaten groundhog to my knowledge.
And
I
I
would
won't.
imagine it'd kind of be greasy, but I'll bet our forefathers ate plenty of groundhog. Okay, and maybe somebody can talk about that. Let's see who's saying what out there to me out there. We got Fred Kleiner. He's talking about Ancient Omni magazine in the opinion section said the U.S. space program needs more money. No, it needs something like SpaceX designing a rocket and minimizing cost. Absolutely, Fred Kleiner. Over 350 Atlas first stage rockets are now uh, for fish habitats in the Atlantic Ocean. Elon Musk has landed in his SpaceX company over 500 first stages. Some of them have flown dozens of times. It's incredible and efficient way to do that. And why haven't we segued to that, But politics is a very difficult thing, as James Gibson's pointing out. Every president has had a space policy. Some wanted to go to the moon and Mars. And Obama wanted to make it a private enterprise, which we have, and was a great idea. And now we've got that going on. And NASA will become an FAA, Federal Aviation Administration type of oversight there. So Mark Thel, I saw that you paid for Shuttlefest, buddy. Very good for you, bringing his wife. That's outstanding there. So, and we'll talk about that as we go through the week here. There's Steve Jokums. He's got his I's dotted and T's crossed, and he has already sent us swag to put in the swag bag and bought us patches that we'll be distributing to everybody also there, and more and more. Thank you so much, Steve Jokums there. So well, let's look at, we're going to be talking in February about 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 beautiful shuttles launched in the month of February. Let's see what we can look forward to talking about, Marty. I see well, one of my favorite mission patches is STS 98 with our friend and Shuttlefest speaker Tom Jones was on that mission there. This is Tethered Satellite of Andy Allen, 133. Our friend Tim Gagnon designed that patch after Robert McCall, the great artist, started that. Okay, we've got a Hubble Hugger STS 82 that our friend Joe Tanner, and to be inducted in the Astronaut Hall of Fame in May. A couple DoD missions there. 130, that's my girlfriend Kay Heyer. She took up the pattern of that 130 is the cupola that she helped take up. She didn't help install it, but she did help take it up there. So we'll be talking about all those missions in the month of February as part of our shtick here on Stay Curious to honor the over 350 American shuttle space flyers, and all of them in various countries in there. So, all right. How many launches? Oh, Tom Celentano said he saw 3 launches. Okay. So, and Dean Babcock and Mark Thel can't wait to shake hands at Shuttlefest. That warms my heart, guys, because that's what Shuttlefest is all about, is the fellowship. We will always make the fellowship first. The space workers next. The astronauts can come, and you space lovers hear what the space workers and astronauts talk about. And I know Mikey Haddad, our resident NASA engineer, is working on a great program about the docking system that had to be invented for us to dock with the Russian Mir space station. So look forward to that, guys. Of course, we're just a day away from the awful news 23 years ago that we'd lost this beautiful crew of 107, the only patch designed in the shape of the shuttle. How ironic is that? Beautiful symbolic of the microgravity experiment and the astronaut. I was in there. Yeah, somebody just found my shuttles of the month of February there. Let's see if I can elaborate on that. There, the whole file there, if you would please. Yeah, thank you very much there, my assistant here in the room. I'm looking for some. I was just looking it up close here that I could see it up close there. I love the patch for 122 on the left here. Oh, Challenger 41B, when you've got the numbers in there, you know it was an early mission, and that was in like 1984. That's Bruce McCandless's first untethered satellite there. So we'll have fun looking at all those and finding out what the artwork means of the patch. And I found a new beautiful book to describe that I'll be unleashing on you all. In fact, Mission Space Art is what it is here. I've got 2. Many of you are familiar with the Mission Patch book, and the other one's Mission Space Art. Of course, Columbia was launched in January, I think January 16th, a beautiful 16-day mission, all the science done on it, and then, of course, the reentry. And but you know the story about that. Foam hitting the left wing over here, about right where the C in Laurel Clark is on a shuttle on there. And there's Rick Husband and his team floating in space. Marty, that's one of the coolest astronaut photos. They always take a traditional photo in space. Okay, they were working around the clock, so they had a red team and a blue team. Okay, doing work in the space hab. Okay, a commercial McDonald habitat that doing things on there for medicine and other things. And but they're floating like Superman up in space up there. And I know people personally that know these astronauts, and it hurts 23 years later, okay, to think of them gone. And just keep in mind the families and the hundreds of friends that miss them every day, also. And Dean Babcock, your book, he mentions Evelyn Husband wrote a book called Higher Calling, okay? And I'm glad you mentioned that, Dean Babcock. Rick Husband here, right there, his second flight. And when you're a pilot once and then a commander the next flight, you know you got some mojo going. His wife wrote in this book, their faith, their Christian faith is so strong that he left his children a VHS tape, yes, VHS tape, back in 2003. Every day, 16 days, a little Bible lesson. Hi, it's Dad. I'm in space, but I want you to, to think of this. And he did that. And his wife said that their faith is so strong that God knew this was going to happen to her husband before he created the earth. Okay, just think about that belief in faith. That their destiny was laid out literally in the stars. So I've read that book. It's really inspirational, and I'd love to meet Evelyn Husband and Marty. Rick Husband's brother Keith comments on our Facebook regularly. If you're watching, Keith, thank you for your comments. He pops up every once in a while and talks about missing his brother, and we'd love to have you, Keith, husband, on our show sometime. So never know who we're talking to in this cyber world. But Keith, husband, we share your pain, and we know that your brother and the whole crew did not die in vain. They completed their mission, and then their legacy will live on through eternity. You want to know more about it? The only definitive book I think you need is Bringing Columbia Home by our friend Mike Leinbach. Launched 37 shuttles, including this one. Jonathan Ward, excellent writer, helped Mike put this book together. And always what strikes me, Marty, about this book, and I go back and reprise it several times a year, just flipping it open and reading there, is one, the mass effort by the NASA community to bring home the remains of their crewmen and also the eighth member, so important to them, Columbia, the first reusable spaceship in the world. And they did the best they could under trying circumstances in February, raining. And actually, what you don't remember maybe about 2003 was the first Gulf War was raging wildly in the middle of this. And where they were at, the Air Force Base, can't remember the name of it right now, was the base for B-52s. And they literally had on the Air Force Base a shuttle recovery people, do not cross this line or you will be shot on sight. They had to live with that kind of stuff. But an amazing book that Mike Leinbach put together, and he is really a fabulous person. And yes, I've teared up many times reading that, Mark Thel. It is so from the heart. And it's an event that Mike will never forget, and Jonathan process of writing it, and the things that I've heard and know, never to be repeated on the air. But it was quite a recovery effort of 7 human remains and the Columbia spaceship on there. Barksdale. Thank you, Gary Gerald. Barksdale Air Force Base is where the B-52s flew out, and the Gulf War was hot and heavy right in the middle of this in 2003. Well, something happier, America's response to Sputnik happened on January 31st. Okay, 1958. We were going to do this anyway in what was called the geophysical year, where for the first time, all the world's nations were focusing on a scientific event, a conference, and a whole year of touting exploration. As we were just literally getting away from the horse and buggy days of 50 years earlier. All right. First cars and aviation stuff were about half century old. Now we're going to leave in rockets. Here's a picture. I don't think many of you have seen of the familiar Explorer 1 on top of the Juno rocket that launched it. Here is the launch. That thing actually spun up too for stability there. And Explorer 1, our first satellite in space there. And this was the NASA's receiving tower there that they used. Okay. And this is the tracking, what they use to track it. All right. Quite crude by today's standards, of course. And the satellite itself, okay, up there. So these were some of the women involved in NASA, okay, in 1958. All hidden figures, okay, all little known, but a lot of them were what they called computers in the day, number crunchers on fancy adding machines, if you will, that did other mathematical things on there. But these are the people that helped us with Explorer 1 and then with Ham the Chimp. Ham the Chimp was also launched on January 31st, along with but several years later, I believe Ham was launched in 1961. All right. Many of you might not be unfamiliar with the container that he was in, the biomedical things that were laid out there. All right. They didn't have a strict white room. They laid him out there in the parking lot, hooked him up to the thing out there. All right. And this is what Ham wrote in. Okay. Ham is an acronym for Holloman Aerospace. M is what? Someone will tell me that in there. And Steve, yeah, Explorer 1 was aerodynamically shaped and did not use a fairing, is right in there. There was no cover over it, and it actually spun, and it's very. Thank you, Steve, there, and thank you all for talking. Now, this was put inside of the Mercury spacecraft that was launched with Ham. Okay, and here's his launch. And this was instead of the cushion seat, he was inside of this. I've seen this with my own eyes out at Cape Canaveral. Maybe you all have taken the tour and seen that. Marty, you've got access out there. You got any comment about that little museum out there that you got to have access to that I don't have, but I've seen it a couple times. But just want to hear Marty's golden voice on that UCX family microphone.
I don't know about a golden voice, but I have been out there, and I was impressed with the things they have out there. You know, it's a small museum, smaller than ours.
I wish that was on the property. I don't understand why that is not, why you got to spend a special ticket to go out there and see it. They should move at least one of these containers. But it's kind of striking what the little guy was in, isn't it?
Yeah, it's relatively small.
Yeah.
And narrow. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was covered up inside the thing. He didn't have access to the control panel like you think Al Shepard and Gus Grissom did. Okay. Then there was a little machine in there that we've got a pellet. Gosh, I should have grabbed the pellet. Connie, no, in the room next door, there's those two plastic drawers. One of them at the very bottom, a pellet is in a little clear package there. It's not in a plastic bag. It's in something you put a wedding bubble thing in. Look at the bottom drawer on the bottom. of the two plastic things in there. She's going to bring in a pellet that Ham, and so back in the day, yes, we're going to say that it was not humane how they treated the animals. All right, they sacrificed animals, so they didn't sacrifice people, and it was not pretty sometimes, but that's what they did. And today we don't do that. All right, and rightfully so. We don't use, and they used animals in the cosmetic industry and other areas to abuse them, basically, to make sure humans weren't harmed. That was part of the days a day ago, and that's right. The old then and now, as Dave Stangy's pointing out there. But there's Ham being taken on the ship after recovery. Okay, he was quite happy about everything. This is not Ham, I don't think. I was told this is a staged picture. Okay, that was done to celebrate this. It could be Ham, but it was not taken the day of the flight. It was a staged photograph there. Marty, you got a comment or question?
Yeah, we have a couple, but one pertaining to Ham was Ham. Let me try and find it again. Oh, it's Dean Babcock asking, were the chimps housed in Hangar S?
Yes, they were housed in Hangar S. I can't believe Connie can't find that. Okay. Um, that's okay. I could have walked in there and brought it back because I know right where it's at.
And while she's looking for that, oh gosh.
Yes, it's Hangar S, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. Hang on. Give me a second to find the question. Anyway, somebody's asking, is Mike Leinbach going to be at Shuttlefest?
He may be. I may have him on a panel. He may pay his own way. We haven't talked about that yet. Certainly want Mike there as a VIP. That's something our committee needs to, there's some people we do want to exempt from there. Bob Seek has said he wants to come. But I'd say, yeah, heck yeah, Mike Leinbach's going to be there. Now, we're going to have a book signing with him. I don't know about that, all right? And he's a little funny about that, too. Okay, Connie's not going to find that, so that's okay. That's okay, Marty. That's all right. We'll just go on here. I can find that later. But all right. Ham the Chimp was followed by Enos the Chimp. And Enos had quite a different disposition. Okay. Oh, here's what I wanted to explain was doggone it. I don't know what's taking her so long. I could have found that thing in a heartbeat. Enos, he did 3 orbits of the Earth before John Glenn. All right, tested that. So in this little levers there, you see is a red light and a white light or yellow light or whatever it was. And he would have to push a lever when the red light came on and another lever when the green light came on. And if he did it incorrectly, he would get an electrical shock in his feet. If he did, a banana pellet would dispense itself, okay, to the bottom there. So, and he would eat the banana pellet, and it's driving me crazy. I can't find that. She can't find that. All right, and then she's not back in here. Okay, Marty's literally at the bottom drawer of there's 2 rolling plastic shelves in there, and Connie, come back in there. Okay, we're gonna forget about that. All right. Like I said, I could have put my fingers on it in 30 seconds, but people don't know what I know about where things are. All right, launched on. I could. It's the 2 rolling plastic.
Okay, I found them.
There's one at the very bottom.
Okay.
It's the only thing in there.
Oh.
It's the only thing at the last. There's 2 of them there, so open up both at the bottom, and it's got a banana pellet that's square inside a little blue.
I know what that looks like. Okay.
Yeah.
Mark, you didn't finish the story about Enos. He would get shocked or he would get.
So Enos, the harness thing short circuited, and he was shocked no matter what he did. Okay, he's orbiting the Earth twice, and he's constantly getting electrical shocks in his feet. All right, and he was mad as heck when he got out of that. In fact, he wanted to bite the first handler that got in the capsule. He had an okay mission. All right, the life support worked for 2 orbits. All right, but he got shocked like crazy, and they even had a. You'll see pictures of him with a big pole, and he's got around his neck, because they didn't want to get close to him because he was mad. Okay, now, um, and so right where I said it was, right?
Right.
So
But Mark, even though
what
he,
took so long? Because people don't listen to my instructions. That's what it is. It was right there.
You're welcome.
There. Thank you, Connie. Well, it was important to show this, so thank you. I should have got up and got it myself, but there it is. This is a banana pellet. Okay, looks just like a lozenge or something that you're doing there. And we've got a few of these left, and I probably shouldn't be handling it with my fingers. That's what it was in on the bottom drawer. Oh, look at that. Okay. But that's the banana pellet they gave him. Enos was so shocked and everything. He was just so mad. He wanted to bite everybody. And, but he was chosen as one of the friendlier ones. Yes, Marty.
but Mark, even though he was getting shocked each time, he still followed the commands. He still did the right instructions.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, because he wanted that banana pellet. All right, he wanted that reward.
Well, actually, he would get a banana pellet or a drink of water.
Yeah, okay. Now, when they showed Ham the space capsule a couple days later after his checkout, you know what Ham did when he saw the space capsule? Took off. He turned his back and ran as fast as he could and went up in the rafters of Hangar S, I guess is where it was. He didn't want back in that thing at all. Okay, they think it was the noise that really got to them more than anything. Was the noise of launch was bad, and I don't think they had a helmet on them for sound suppression and all that stuff. But neither one of them want another ride to space. Ham lived a ripe old age of something like 30 years old in the National Zoo. And Enos died like 5 or 6 years is all he lived on there. Nothing that had to do with his space flight, though. So chimps were very important. Primates closest to human beings, except pigs. Lungs and heart and some organs of pigs are very human-like, and they consider putting a pig and on a suborbital flight to check them, but they did use pigs on other things. So thank you, Connie. That was worth everything just for them to see this banana pellet in there. Okay, and that's what the reward was. It looks like I'm trying to think of the chiclet. That's what I'm trying to say. It looks like a chiclet, a small chiclet. All right, a big chiclet, I mean. All right, something that we love to broadcast because we love getting rid of those hoaxers on our Facebook page. And I've got a guy that just helps me sort them out. But the launch of the return to the moon after Apollo 13's aborted mission was on January 31st, 1971. All right. Marty, you got a question or comment there?
Yeah, I keep losing the questions, but anyway, I think it was Mark Bell was asking how many chimps died. Well, eventually all did.
Well, we don't know. I mean, that's kind of unknown. All right. Like I said, this was a test bed of living creatures. I know a few armadillos that may have got strapped to an Atlas V rocket and sent to space accidentally, or up at least had a rocket ride. But we didn't have any chimps die in space. Okay, now they may have killed a couple of them in a centrifuge, taking it to the limit. That kind of thing that they had to find the tolerances of there. And yep, Carlton, pigs in space. That sounds like a Muppet movie for sure.
Mark, I think we had a few, the rhesus monkeys.
The rhesus monkeys? Yes, we had the rhesus monkeys and the Abel and Cain were sent up. No, Abel and Baker. And then there was a monkey killed. That's right. They celebrate, I think it's Mondo is the name of the monkey that was killed, and that was sacrificed in a suborbital flight before Ham and Enos. Okay, on there, and don't have my notes in front of me, but we've done shows on animals in space before to celebrate Ham, and we'll do that again. Okay, great questions. Glad everybody's staying curious today with me here on a Monday. Uh, uh, so the launch of another Saturn V rocket going to the moon for the third attempt to land on the moon with these men on it. It looks like a night launch, but it was a morning launch, like 9:30 in the morning or something like that, I think, on there. And I know you don't remember all the launches, Marty, but boy, that one, that looks that's one of my favorite ones photographically on there. And that thing is just lumbering off the pad. It's still going to take another 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 seconds to clear the tower, right, Marty?
Yeah, at least that took about 11 to 13 seconds to clear the tower.
Yeah. So, would you happen to remember this important after Apollo 13's near disaster?
You remember what?
Remember the launch at all? Anything about it?
Oh, 13?
14.
14? No.
Well, Alan Shepard. There's Alan Shepard training with the rickshaw. How do I know that's Alan Shepard? Because he got red stripes on his arms. Okay, and then they put it on the helmet. This was a innovation on Apollo 13 that the commander would have red stripes on his legs and arms and on his helmet, one down the middle like a mohawk. And so, because they couldn't tell when Apollo 12 traded off the camera between Bean and Conrad, they didn't know. They had to ask them who was who took this picture, so we know who's in the picture. So that was something that was a renovation. And yeah, this is out there at Kennedy Space Center in the sand with the rickshaw that they took with instruments on the moon. I don't think the wheels were like that. They tested the wire wheels out. And why don't I have the crew picture here? That puzzles me. That's on our list, isn't it, Marty? So I'm glad we got the crew picture here. Doggone it. Have to double check that. Alan Shepard is at the far end there. Edgar Mitchell and Stu Rosa, the two rookies there. And that's the backup crew. Looks like the bald guy on the right. That's, huh?
It's like Stafford on the left.
Yeah, Stafford on the left back there. The traditional breakfast, that is, I know that's Edgar Mitchell, big help to our museum. Some of the Apollo 14 paraphernalia, and you better bet your bottom dollar we'll talk about it on February 5th or another day when they landed on the moon for 2 days and did 2 EVAs. This is some of the things that we see come across ourselves all the time. They had these bumper stickers, Apollo 14 team member. There's a picture of the crew right there. Apologize that it's a different format that didn't show up there for some reason. Ares, lunar module number 8, was on the moon's surface from February 5th to 6th, 1971. Look at the tilt it was in. Look at the crater it just barely missed, Marty. That wouldn't have been good. Okay. And they put out the some small ILSAT package. Then they tried to go to Cone Crater, and everybody says, well, they failed to go to Cone Crater. They got too overexposed and too hot, and it was like some of you that have snow up there up north. It's like the snowdrift, going through a snowdrift. This was some of the deepest lunar regolith that of the 6 landing sites, okay? Fra Maro's about in the middle of the moon, to the left of the middle, but it was a lot dustier than they thought, cumbersome to pull that little rickshaw. They were very disoriented because, not in a bad way, they just weren't sure where the directions were. They had to use the sun direction in the east. And this mission was fraught with some real problems. One was docking with the lunar module with the command module docking with the lunar module when it was in the slaw, going to took 6 times. The docking hatches had something wrong with them. All right, when they brought the docking hatch in, they could see that there was something that they were even lucky to dock on the 6th time. So would they be able to undock and dock again? That was a question mark, but they were sure they could. All right. 2, the Alcep computer started acting weirdly, and it actually spit out in some of the 62 or 56 kilobytes of memory. So you can hear on the landing that you can hear the landing on YouTube channel. You hear Edgar Mitchell entering new codes into the computer, the Desky, that we've got a beautiful replica of that Steve Jokums loaned us. We'll talk about that later in the week. The landing. He had to do a series of commands with the fat gloved fingers. He didn't miss a stroke, and it was very important. Then at 10,000 feet, finally the landing radar, LiDAR, kicked in. It wasn't emitting, it wasn't giving them data until at the very last moment when they could abort if they didn't have that data at 10,000 feet, and it started working. So a lot of 3 major things went wrong. They're the first astronauts to walk on the moon with a sippy drink cup and a tube that they could suck out of by reaching over in their helmet and reaching down. And there is Edgar Mitchell talking to Charlie Mars in the foreground. Edgar's in the background there. Big help to our museum in raising money. He lived around here, helped raise money for the Apollo Memorial out there, monuments. And yes, he did do ESP experiments on the surface of the moon, trying to contact ESP-wise what he was thinking about with people on the Earth. But because of that delay in the docking, and I think they went around other things that delayed the timeline, which wasn't broadcast to the public in 1971, what they were doing every hour of the voyage. They were out of sync. So the ESP experiments did not work out. And NASA did not know about this. When they found out about it, they weren't very happy. Edgar Mitchell didn't care. He was going to retire, and he formed the Noetic Institute for Paranormal Activities, Noetic, or Noeic, Noetic Institute of Paranormal, and it's based in the South Carolina coast area, I believe, on there. Go ahead, Marty.
Give me a second. I'm having a problem finding.
Was Aries almost too tilted for a safe departure? Asked Jim Gibson.
Right. I couldn't find it. Okay.
What do you think?
No, it landed about less than 10 degrees, and I think that the critical point was 15 degrees. And if it landed more than 15 degrees, we'd have to do an immediate evaluation. If it was more than 30 degrees, that would result in immediate abort.
They would immediately aborted once it tilted that much.
Yeah.
It would have aborted because
At 30 degrees.
if they had not, if they'd landed way crooked, they're going to try to get off the moon anyway. That was their only attempt to do it. But maybe they go out there with jack stands and jack it up a little bit, Marty, and get that up there. Or like some of you were doing, maybe putting cardboard under your car tires to get out of the snow this weekend. But there were some really close calls with that. Okay, right, Marty? The pads on 15 was also near a crater, and that tilted it up to where the lunar rover was up real high. So the Murphy bed rollout thing was up higher than they wanted to. And when the lunar rover fell down, they were worried it might break an axle or something like that. All kinds of things.
And I think 15, I think they were at 11 degrees.
Okay.
Yeah.
11 degrees there. Thank you. Thank you for there. All right. So great. That's our show for today. shuttles of the month of February will be coming up here, okay? And we appreciate everybody getting in there as I'm getting in the groove here. Uh, I'm very busy. The month of January was just brutal with all the events that I was attending as the director of the museum. So if I'm a little off and not as factual as I'd like to be today, please forgive me, but this is my happy time to be with you sharing space history. 3 amazing events that all influenced our American space program. The successful suborbital flight of Ham the Chimp before we put humans up there. Okay. The first satellite of America launched, Explorer 1. And then of course Apollo 14, underrated I think, as the return to flight after a near fatal mission on Apollo 13. Boy, those guys were lucky. If that had happened 1,000 miles further down the track, it might not have worked out the way, from what people tell me. So thank you all for watching today, and we're going to have Wednesday. We'll see what's going on with the Artemis wet dress as you all are looking at your phones and know more about than I do. Wednesday, we're going to take on Artemis 2. I'm going to show you the profile of Artemis 2. We're going to talk about what America has accomplished to date, all right, before Artemis 2, to give you a mindset of the American space program. And here we are on the threshold of returning to the moon. I talked to 1 in 5 people that I talked to knew the right answer, that we are not orbiting the moon with Artemis 2. We are doing a gigantic loop 5,000 miles behind the moon and then looping back and coming back. That's important that we're going about 5,000 miles further than Apollo 13 did, which they were about 200 miles above the moon's surface on their free return. Eyes pressed to the windows to see the craters below. And NASA tells us that at its closest, the moon will look as big as a basketball held at arm's length. Okay. And I can see that in my backyard through my telescope. All right. But that's what we're doing. And it's to test the environmental control system in deep space with the Orion spacecraft, because this environmental control system has to last 9 months to Mars, 9 months back from Mars. All right. And then 3 months orbiting Mars. So they think it'll last 2 years. And this is a test for it in 10 days. So we'll see how it works out. My fingers are crossed, but we hope that NASA always does diligence, for the number one factor of this flight is the safety of our 4-person crew. So we'll get up on that, show you some pretty pictures of Artemis, including Carlton Bailey's moonrise last night. That was outstanding, CB, and catch up on news that's happening elsewhere around our solar system. So until tomorrow, I'm Mark Marquette saying I'm happy to be back, and I can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us. Thank you so much.